Looks like this through 11 weeks of NFL action. How about the Bears atop the North? But this race, it's tight. You got Packers, Lions, both with 6 wins, and the Vikings down at the bottom, not totally out of it, at 4-6 with a 2-1 record within the division. But we highlighted those two teams, Packers and Vikings, because they are playing this Sunday. So let's talk about this matchup with our friends Mike Renner and JP Acosta. A plenty of opportunity for Green Bay, guys, as they get ready to face 3 straight NFC North opponents. But first up, the Vikings come to town. So JP, what do you think about this next stretch of games for the Packers and what we can expect from them?
This is an incredibly pivotal stretch for the Packers. As they stand right now, they're still clinging on and holding on to that last playoff spot in the NFC. And with the way that every other team in the NFC North has looked, with the Bears looking the way they do leading the division, with the Lions still looking fairly talented despite what they showed on Sunday night against the Eagles, the Packers still find themselves sort of trying to figure out who they are and what their identity is. It feels like their offense has sort of gone into a lull. Part of that has been because of the offensive line injuries. Part of that has been because of the receiver injuries. They don't have Tucker Kraft or Jaden Reed, and only one of those guys in Reed is probably going to be coming back this season. So I think their receivers have to play better this final stretch of the season, especially against these NFC North opponents. Because when you look at teams like the Vikings, when you look at the Lions and the Bears, I think especially with Minnesota and Detroit, they play really good defense, and they have very talented defensive backs. So they need their receiver core to play consistently. You think of Matthew Golden. You think Christian Watson's going to have to continue to play at his high level that he played at on Sunday. But I think their receiver core is going to have to pick up the slack, especially if the run game is just not going to be there right now.
Yeah, this stretch is their season, truthfully, because 10 wins may not make the playoffs in the NFC the way things are going. They might have to get to 11. And it's not just like the Super Bowl. It's just getting in right now that's concerning for this Packers team, given that seemingly no matter who they play, it's going to be a tight game. At least that's where it's been for 2 months now for this Packers team. So last year, they went 1-5 in the division. They've only played 1 divisional game this year. So they have 5 more down the stretch. Things have to change from what we saw last year. They have to almost sweep this division. Maybe you can drop 1 game down the stretch in it if you have any plans of winning the North. But if they lose, like they did last year, 3, 4, 5, they may not even make the playoffs.
Yeah, JP mentioned just how important the receiver room and what they get from them over the next few weeks is going to be because of the running back situation. Still uncertainty surrounding Josh Jacobs' injury. It's early on in the week, so we're not quite sure if he's going to go. But, Mike, because of that, you've got your eye on running back Emmanuel Wilson. So if he is going to be tabbed as the lead back here, what does he add to this offense?
Well, he hasn't played much this year because he kind of is just a poor man's Josh Jacobs. They don't have different skill sets. He's kind of just the same skill set as Josh Jacobs, but not as explosive, not as strong a runner. But he's a big guy, 6'1", 226. He ran really hard last year, averaged 4.8 yards per carry. You saw him score this past week when he came in, when Josh Jacobs did go out. So they don't really have to change up their offense. He's going to be able to do a lot of that same grind out tough yards between the tackles, but it's just going to take a step back from an efficiency standpoint. And that's been the biggest question with this Packers team, is just not being able to generate, not really being able to take over games with their ground game at any point this season. I don't think that's going to change with Wilson in there, but I don't think it takes away from what this offense is trying to be and the identity that they have.
My impact player is actually wide receiver Matthew Golden. He's missed a couple of games due to injury. There have been a lot of just inconsistencies with his game and sort of just trying to find his footing within this offense. But what he brings to Green Bay is not only speed, but focus and concentration when it comes to catching passes. This Green Bay skill position core, especially at receiver, has dropped a lot of passes in years before. And on Sunday, they dropped 4 passes. That's the second most of the week. So I think for Matthew Golden, if he can come in and not only bring that speed element downfield for Jordan Love, but expand his game a little bit to kind of be a little more of a short yardage, yards after the catch. We're going to try and get some easy offense going, especially with Josh Jacobs out of the game. They're going to have to try and let Jordan Love cook, especially as a passer. So I think Matthew Golden is going to have an expanded role, and I hope that he thrives for them to win this game.
Let's talk about the Vikings, specifically J.J. McCARTHY, 8 interceptions and 5 career starts. So inaccuracy and consistency really marketing his play. So how can he clean that up, JP?
Well, start off, like you said, it's inaccuracy. He has been the worst on-target rate quarterback of the NFL with a minimum of 50 targets. He just cannot get the ball into where he wants it to be. And the most frustrating part is that his eyes are in the right place. He knows where to go with the ball. But I think mechanically, it starts from the ground up. His footwork has been really poor. That was one of the issues coming out of Michigan. His footwork and mechanics have not improved since then, which raises some alarm bells. But for this Vikings offense, for J.J. McCarthy specifically, to try and get some good games going into this final stretch of the season that might determine whether he's a starter in 2026, his footwork has to continue to improve, and he's got to start hitting passes because this is starting to look real tenuous for him and the Vikings.
Mike, I know you study quarterbacks, specifically when it comes to the draft and what they do in the NFL as well. So what are you seeing from J.J. McCarthy and how he can clean it up in this game in particular?
I think that's the biggest thing, is that I do this from a draft perspective, and what I'm seeing from McCarthy now is exactly the same issues I saw at Michigan. So we're a year and a half into his NFL career, and the overstriding, the inaccuracies, the touch balls that are non-existent on his tape are the same problems he had at Michigan. So there hasn't been development, and that's all you really care about. Like, you can forgive a lot of flaws in a young quarterback if he's improving. We have not seen that from McCarthy, and that's the biggest issue at this point, is that he's too, I don't want to say too old, because he's still early on in his NFL career from a starts perspective, but you can improve while you're not playing, or should be able to improve things, should be able to work on things when you're not playing, and we just haven't seen that improvement. So down the stretch, what you need to see, you just need to see these things fixed. All the things JP touched on are things that were on his tape at Michigan. If those don't improve, if we don't see those getting better, yeah, I'm pushing the panic button on JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, it's getting real tenuous, especially for McCarthy as a passer. Just some of the downfield stuff just is really, really alarming. With it, like Mike said, the overstriding. It feels like the game is moving way too fast for McCarthy right now. And at that point, when you see the game is moving too fast, you really start to hit alarm bells.
All right, so that is just with the quarterback of one of these teams. With all that being said, JP, who wins this football game?
I'm going with the Packers in this one, largely just because they have a quarterback I can trust and the Vikings don't. I think their pass rush in Green Bay is going to be able to make J.J. McCarthy a little uncomfortable in the pocket. We saw against Chicago, he really was still trying to figure out what his answers were against pressure. So as long as he's doing that and Jordan Love is still continuing to play at the level that he has and I know that he can play at, I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm going with Green Bay as well. If you go back to last year, they actually did a great job of picking up the blitzes that Brian Flores is known for. Their struggles this year have more just been one-on-one, guys losing reps. And it's not like the Vikings have elite, great one-on-one talent across the board. They get a lot of play out of those guys as blitzers. So I think they'll be able to hold up in pass pro. And then I just do not trust J.J. McCarthy one bit against that Packers defense right now.
So it all comes down to quarterback trust. Both of you picking the Packers. Mike, JP, we appreciate